All right, let's break down the Giants-Bills matchup from Buffalo's side of things. I have Matt Parrino, who's a Bills beat reporter for Syracuse.com, on to give us his thoughts heading into Sunday night. Matt, another primetime game for the Giants. The Bills are coming off that loss across the pond to Jacksonville. Let's start talking about the Bills' offense. They still look good. Bills offense versus Giants D. Is there any area of the Giants defense that offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey, Josh Allen, and the rest of the group should be worried about?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have Kayvon Thibodeau, despite the lack of sack numbers for this team, the Giants, that is, that's still a potential problem. And Deion Dawkins, who's been really good for the Bills at left tackle through the first month of the season, I thought felt his real first challenge and struggles last week against Jacksonville. Josh Allen for them did a really good job applying some pressure. Josh Allen for the Bills had to kind of navigate that pocket and make some things happen. And it was just a disjointed effort for a Bills offense that had been playing so well going into that game. A bunch of 3-and-outs to start, 4 straight punts after 4 punts combined in their previous 3 games. And, the Giants took the ball away last week. And so that's an area where the Bills have been really good offensively, is limiting turnover since that opener against the Jets when Josh Allen threw 3 picks and had the fumble. That's a good way to kind of cause chaos in any kind of environment. So I think the Giants are going to try to get pressure, Wink Martindale special, try to turn the ball over. But that's really tough against this offense that I think is going to try to run the ball. The Giants haven't been very good against the run this season. I think they're giving up 150 per game on the ground. So that's an area where if I'm Ken Dorsey, I'm leaning on Damian Harris, James Cook, and Latavius Murray to get that run game going.
What have you seen from Josh Allen since that opening game where he was just a walking turnover? How has he progressed throughout this season?
Yeah, I think he's settled down. He came up and came out, and this goes back to his rookie year. This isn't any new storyline. There's a side of him, they call it sugar high Josh, that sometimes he gets in the game and tries to do everything, especially on, in a big game environment against a rival team. We've seen it against Kansas City in the past and, Baltimore in the past. It just has happened at times. And so I think what he tried to do is take a deep breath coming out of that game, realizing that, he put the ball in jeopardy way too many times. And ever since, he has just been as efficient as you can be with the ball in his hands as a passer, and his decision-making as a runner. He's still running when it's warranted, when there's openings that the defense presents, but he's not looking to run. And to me, that's the biggest evolution of his game into this season, because you go back to previous years and it's like he is looking for the first opportunity to break, contain, get outside the pocket and attack defenses with his legs. He's not doing that this year, and he's made some really, really impressive throws relying on his playmakers.
Yeah, I call that BP on BP, big plays on broken plays, and that's something that this Bills offense has been able to do. I mean, there's a reason why this guy is on the Madden cover. Let's Riverside it. Let's talk about the defense. No Leslie Frazier this year, but it hasn't been a problem. The Bills' defense has still been towards the top of the NFL. Von Miller is back, and that's something I don't want to see. I don't want to see that dance. So are you expecting a big day out of Buffalo's defense, and where are they weak at?
Well, right now, there's some weaknesses that have been caused by injuries. And in the middle, Daquan Jones playing as good as football as anybody in the league through the first month at the defensive tackle position. He's out for the foreseeable future with a pec injury. They lost all-pro linebacker last week, Matt Milano, to a fractured leg. And then a week before that, all-pro cornerback Tre'Davious White, who was just starting to kind of get back to the guy that he was before the injury, goes out and tears his Achilles. So those are 3 top-notch defensive players that now the Bills are without. And so I feel like you're talking about the Bills maybe getting the Giants at the best time in a get-right game. You're probably getting this defense at the best time as they try to fill a couple of voids that have been created. Lucky for Buffalo, you mentioned Von Miller's back. Ed Oliver, fresh off of that new contract extension this offseason, has been magnificent. And we're starting to finally see the version of Oliver that Brandon Beane was hoping for when he made him a top 10 draft pick back in 2019. Greg Rousseau missed last week. Their young, impressive defensive end. He's trending in a good direction. Practice yesterday during a walkthrough. We'll see what goes on today. But, the Bills have playmakers at all 3 levels. Terrell Bernard has actually been this unbelievable breakout story. He's come in and been every bit what Tremaine Edmonds was last year and over the last couple of years, maybe even more, in his ability to play against the run, cover in against the pass. He's been really good. And then they have those all pros in the back end, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer.
Yeah, you talk about that Bills defensive line. They're doing a great job getting after, and they're going against a Giants offensive line that's allowed 30 sacks this season. It's not looking good for Daniel Jones to be playing in this game with the sore neck. You guys are going to see Tyrod, or you could potentially see Tyrod Taylor make his way back up there to Buffalo to play against you guys. That's going to be something to be pretty interesting to watch, that Giants offense versus the Bills defense. Put on your Sean McDermott hat, man. Let's make you to the Bills head coach right now. What are you telling your team in terms of not falling and not biting the cheese and falling into this trap game?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that Sean, over the course of his career, he's done a really good job managing that part of head coaching, and that is getting his guys ready to play, in different spots. They don't tend to, play down to competition over the course of his tenure. And so I think you got to go in there and say, listen, this is a chance to work on a lot of things. It's a defense that, if you turn the tape back to last season, was pressuring the quarterback, was turning the ball over. Something that they did a little bit more last week against a really high-powered Miami Dolphins offense. And if you let them, there's a storyline developing on the other side. Brian Dable, his big return back to Buffalo, not only was he the offensive coordinator here, but he's a Western New York kid. He grew up right down in West Seneca there. He's a local guy. He's still, keeps in contact with a bunch of players on the Bills. Josh Allen mentioned it this week, how close they are. You don't want the guy that was, your offensive coordinator, if you're Sean McDermott, coming into town and spoiling it and putting you at 3-3 in a division where it seems like Miami is off to the races here. So I think they'll do a good job of that. They don't overlook opponents. And, Tyrod Taylor is a guy that he could come in here on one given week, make plays with his arm and his legs. And, Bills fans saw it back in 2017.
Yep.
Went to the playoffs.
Yeah, Brian Dable, Joe Shane, Tyrod Taylor, Isaiah Hodgins, all hopping up in the F-150 to make their way up to Buffalo Sunday night. Should be a good one. Let's hope so. Matt, thanks for joining us, my man.
Thanks for having me, buddy.